So here comes Brian down across start finish. So, and talking about the communication that you're mentioning, if you go on YouTube and you pull up some of the videos from this year's racing in Guntersville and in Madison and last weekend in the Tri-Cities, there is a lot of that two-way communication that is on the audio portion of those YouTube videos. It's very interesting, the conversation that goes on between the crew chief or the owner on shore and the driver, and that back and forth banter. But you will hear them many times 2 minutes before the start. You will hear the crew chief say to the driver, "You're right on your timing mark. You're right where you want to be." And one of the points that I found interesting was in Madison, it was Jimmy Shane and Andrew Tate with like a minute 30 before the start. Both boats came across the start finish line, and both radio men came on at the same time at exactly 1:30 and said, "You're right on your timing mark." Clearly, they both had the same mark. Away from the dock now. Go ahead, Kay.
Well, I'm just going to say, we're talking about Jimmy Shane heading out onto the water now. His radio personnel is Nick Bonazzini, which is his brother-in-law. I mean, that's putting some big trust into the family, and I'm sure, Bianca might have had something, wife Bianca of Jimmy might have had something to say with that one.
And right now, Nick is telling Jimmy, go wide through that lower corner because you've got Brian Perkins coming up behind you on the inside. And this is a test session, so we can have up to 3 H1 Unlimiteds on the water at any time. An interesting note here in the pit area, it may be something, it may not be something, but I've noticed that J. Michael Kelly brought the Graham trucking back to the pit area, and instead of pulling the boat out of the water, they have spun it around 180 degrees and are now pulling the engine cowling off. I am going to assume they're going to make a very quick change right there at the dock, and probably we'll see JMK back out on the race course. I see Mike down there too. He has not taken his helmet off.
That's kind of unusual. You usually do not see them make any changes right here on the water. Usually they bring them all the way in onto their trailers, and you'll see at least 8 guys. Most personnel, most crew is about 8 to 10 guys. You'll see them all jump on a boat. Each person has their own particular job, just like when you watch a NASCAR pit race. They come into the pits, and each person has their job. Same thing with these guys. You have a prop guy, you have a fin guy, everybody's got their particular jobs. And right now you see all of the Graham trucking right inside of there. It looks like we're like you said, just going to make a quick change. Jimmy Shane out on the water, and it looks like Brian might be heading his way.
Yeah, this is very clearly a timing sequence for Jimmy Shane, and it's very interesting, too, because Jimmy, if anybody has turned the upper corner tighter than Brian Perkins this morning, it's been Jimmy Shane, and I'm getting a kick out of this because both of them are timing themselves at slow speed around the race course. Now, at slow speed, but we're going to define that as you cannot go below 80 miles an hour once you leave the pit area and before the race starts. You must maintain at least 80 miles an hour. There is a strobe light in the center top of the cowling right above the air scoop, and that will begin to blink if you drop below 80 miles an hour. If that starts to happen, there will be a warning given to that team. Get it up, pull the speed up, get him up, go a little faster. Watch Jimmy. He's going to come off the corner here. I'm going to bet in lane 1, and I'll bet he's going to come down hard. Maybe not, but he's going to be just tied to the buoy row. And what's interesting, watch Brian, see if he doesn't come through in the exact same spot. Jimmy's going to come off the corner and put the foot down a little bit. And Brian's timing himself in the same lane. Well, only one of them can run in that lane.
I was just going to say, so what happens if Jimmy gets that lane or Brian gets that lane? So then they have to go to what we call Plan B. And when they're doing these timing runs yesterday and today, they're making Plan A, B, and C. They're hoping for A, but just in case they have a Plan B if somebody else is in their position. You're talking about timing runs and timing speeds qualifying that we've been doing. This year, it looks like Jimmy was our top qualifier at 153.846. Last year, 2017, he was 148.975. They're running a brand new boat this year, I believe. This is their first time they're actually racing it, correct, Brad?
That is correct. The boat got wet for the first time exactly 7 days ago in the Tri-Cities. They christened it on a Friday evening. They ran it on a Saturday morning. And I'll tell you what, this thing is a rocket. What I saw yesterday that impressed me was from right there to the exit buoy and maybe one buoy up. This boat just looking at it with the naked eye yesterday, seemed to get into, through, and out of the corner extremely fast. And just looking at it without other boats on the water, that's what I noticed. And I could be all wet. We're going to find out. That's why we're going to go racing. We'll see if he's got shoe speed. But look at this boat through the corner. It is just extremely fast. He's able to pin it right on the buoy row, a great corner. And Jimmy's going to come down hard. His last lap was at 144 miles an hour, but that included a very slow speed up the backstretch for a portion. But he just laid down a hot one. And now you see he pulls his foot out of it. I think, okay, because we were noticing yesterday the increased qualification speeds by almost all of the boats versus what they were able to do a year ago. And I think a big portion of that was the weather and certainly the water conditions yesterday afternoon. It was perfect.
Yes, and from what I've heard from the weather reports, it's supposed to get even better throughout the weekend. So we're going to see these speeds go higher and higher and higher throughout the weekend.
Jimmy laid that last lap down at 149. Again, we're not trying to go as fast as we can. We're trying to have a good race setup. This is testing, and that's why they're going slow. They're going fast. You saw Brian Perkins cut the race course on his last lap, a la what Jimmy is doing right now. And that may mean that Jimmy is going to come back to the pit area, or it may, again, just be part of a timing sequence, and that's what it's going to be for Jimmy.
Let's talk about the new boats. So talking to Jimmy about it, I asked him, I said, hey, how do you like the new boat after you took it out on the water for the first time? He said, I am super excited, but he is excited because he is the first one to ever drive this boat. So that is what his plan is to have this boat race for the first time this weekend and top podium finish by the end of the weekend.
Yeah, he said top podium finish. Trust me, with the difficult weekend that they had a week ago in the Tri-Cities, this team is focused on one thing. They had about 3 boxes they wanted to check. They checked 2 of them yesterday. One of those was to be the top qualifier. They gained 20 points on Andrew Tate in the National High Point standings. There's only 1 box left to check, and that is winning the 2018 Albert Lee Appliance Cup at Seafair. Coming out on the water now is our U1918, the Alberto Beef Jerky, Cal Phipps, the boat out of Gadsden, Alabama. And I thought Cal was going to get it up. He will re-spool and refire here in just a moment. But we talked about it yesterday. I know you weren't here, Kay, but you saw it in Tri-Cities, and we can see it now. This metallic color scheme that is on this boat, when the sun catches it, it's something spectacular.
It is, and I love how they've done this new wrap on this boat, and it just looks amazing from everywhere on the course. And they worked really hard. They had some boat damage over the last weekend over at Tri-Cities. Yesterday, unfortunately, lost the prop out here. I always say this is the most expensive water that there is because I can't even count how many props are probably down at the bottom of the slate, but you know, Cal worked really hard to come back in the 1918. Let's say it was a harder year for Alberta.
Yep, that's why the boat has the number U1918. They will have to change that moving away from this race because you can no longer go to 4 digits. But it's 1918 this weekend, and that is quite the tribute to the Alberto Sausage Company, the Alberto family. Quite a name in the greater Seattle area. Glad to have the Alberto name racing here again, this time with Cal Phipps behind the wheel. And it is glad to have Milt and Charlie Wiggins here in their boat out of Gadsden, Alabama. If you'd have given me an hour and a half and a map of the United States, I wouldn't have been able to find Gadsden, Alabama. However, 2 months ago, I drove through the booming metropolis. It's a great little spot, about 10 minutes outside Guntersville. Nice little spot down there as Brian Perkins comes back to the pit area. And he will be followed, I believe, by our U1 defending National High Point champion, defending Albert Lee Appliance Seafair Cup champion, Jimmy Shane.
Exactly. You say defending, but right now he is fighting for points. He's currently in 3rd place. Your first place High Point champion so far, really about halfway through the season, is Andrew Tate. He'll be taking the water here shortly. I did just see him get dropped into the water, so we'll be seeing Andrew Tate coming out here from the left straw tires. And like I said, he is your national champion, and he's been doing spectacular. You were there at Guntersville when he had basically a perfect weekend.
He did have a perfect weekend, and unfortunately, we've lost Cal Phipps. Cal Phipps came out of the pit area. He went through the lower corner, went slowly up the backstretch, and he is down in the water. So he is requesting a tow. Cal Phipps up at the top end of the race course. I was hoping we could see the Alberto come down and give us a couple of those glints of the metallic color scheme in this beautiful day here that's developing. And the cloud cover that we had, the Pacific Northwest air conditioner, is departing the scene here.
Where was that last weekend when you were
We mentioned we might get J. Michael Kelly in the U12, the Graham Trucking, back out on the race course. I don't know what they changed, but they did it quickly and they did it at the dock.
Well, they only have a 15-minute tech session. 15 minutes is not very much time for these guys to make any kind of changes, because like I said, normally they bring them all the way in on the crane, back onto their trailers, and then back onto the water. But this was strategic move that they made, just making the changes right here in the water.
Yeah, they did. And now away from the dock, our second fastest qualifier, the winner of 2 of our 3 boat races so far this year. The winner a week ago, Andrew Tate, driving the U9, the Les Schwab Tire, the boat owned by Mike and Lori Jones. And I make the comment seemingly every time this boat gets on the water, these boats get basically rebuilt every year. But if we just go back to when this boat began its career, it was 1992 here in Seattle as the Coors Dry. That was 26 years ago. This is technically and on paper the oldest active H1 Unlimited, and one can argue it may be the fastest, it may be the quickest.
Oldest boat, but youngest driver on the course.
I'm going to challenge that one. I think Aaron Salmon's got him.
Oh, yes, and Dustin might be right there. And we say that because our drivers are pretty young. Most of our drivers are in their 30s. A lot of them started driving in the outboard hydroplanes of Jay Jr. style hydro, which we were going to try to get out onto the water earlier, but unfortunately, with the weather conditions we had this morning, we could not get them out on the water, but we do plan on having them out later.
J. Michael Kelly running hard through the south corner here, picked up the right sponson just as he went to set up for the corner. And Kay, I'm not sure if you're aware here of what is going on in the pit area, but we have a new boat that is pulled in. And it is right here in front of us. This is the Albert Lee milk carton derby boat. And it's very easy to mistake this for their truck.
It looks like and all of a sudden I saw it get up and move because I didn't see the bottom part, and I was like, what is going on over there? This is going to be fun. Are they really going to take water?
Well, they've got it over the boat ramp there, and we're being told, yes, they're actually going to put it out here. Just like it'll go into the B section, Heat 1B. But the Albert Lee milk carton derby boat is here. This thing is quite the work of art.
That's creative. I've never actually gone down to see them derby. Have you ever watched them?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I'm like, out there.
Okay, you haven't lived.
Well, no. Apparently, I've gone through how many different kinds of private racing. I haven't done this one, but maybe I'll just build one and enter it.
We
can put it together, Brad.
We could do that. Anyway, out on the race course, J. Michael Kelly, clearly he is not out trying to do some timing marks because they have changed something in the engine compartment of that boat, and they have sent him back out, and he is running hard a couple of laps here. We'll keep an eye on if he gets some official speeds. Meanwhile, he's been joined on the course by Andrew Tate and the U9, the Les Schwab tires. Andrew was running slowly until just now, and he pulls his foot one more time. He gets into the lower corner, and we also have young Dustin Eccles on the course in the U440 bucket list racing.
That looked like a little bit out of control. He's just tapping the sponsons, and we call it the little boat that could, and he keeps up with them, and he pushes that thing to the extreme every weekend. It's fun to watch that bucket list racing at 440.
Boy, a tight corner at the top end for JMK, so that makes 4 boats that want to run in lane 1. We'll see if we get a speed here. He just turned that last one at 146.5, so basically about his official qualifying speed. But they'd like to see a 150. I don't think they're going to be able to see it with the water conditions as they are now. And what they are checking on the Graham Trucking right now, or with the adjustment that they made, was apparently a fuel flow setting. Thank you, Gary. Went down and got that little tidbit of information, and that's why they did not pull the boat out of the water. So lots going on here this morning, and you talked about Dustin Eccles, Kay, and this small boat. Yesterday, it was much easier on them to run with the perfect water conditions when nobody else was out there with them. Now this is when this boat has a difficult issue because the water starts getting rougher and it's a little bit harder for them. 148 for JMK. And I'll tell you, 148 with two other boats on the water in wind conditions like we've got right now, I think they'll take that. Yesterday, that would have been clearly a 150. You would have had 2 more miles an hour had you had the course to yourself and the water conditions that we had, not this wind. I think they've got something there they like. They were the last crew to leave the pit area last night. They were the first ones in the front door this morning. Never count out J. Michael Kelly. And now watch him up the backstretch. Now, okay, we're happy with what we've got. Now let's do a timing run.
That you were talking about combinations, and that combination they made with the fuel, that's going to be crucial later on. But what you were saying with the qualifying speeds versus the speed he had from yesterday versus today versus tomorrow, they're going to have to make one more adjustment for tomorrow's weather, making another change.
Absolutely. Now watch Mike. See what he does at the top end of the course. Oh, here's our 5th boat that's going to run at lane number 1. That is going to be a crowded lane when they come down. Watch Tate. Tate's going up in the corner, too. He's doing some timing runs here. So Mike will come down now. He'll run it hard to the start-finish line. Probably will pull his foot. Sometimes he'll run it all the way down to the corner. But no, he pulls his foot as soon as he gets to start-finish. Here comes Tate. He, too, is going to run in lane 1. Except he's going to come slow down.
What you're saying, though, is that they're all going to run in lane 1. So let's tell our fans that we aren't assigned lanes. These guys have to
for
that lane. And so it's going to be interesting to see who actually gets it. And that's what we like about the 5-minute gun. What do you call it?
The race before the race. And it is equally as important as the 3 laps that we are going to run in competition. What happens in that 5-minute period before we actually start and hit the start-finish line is equally as important. If you don't believe me, go back and watch the final heat in the Tri-Cities from 1 week ago. You get yourself out of position, you'll find yourself without a lane, and then you can be in trouble.
Exactly. We were talking about points earlier about we're only midway through the season. We've been at Connersville, Alabama. We went to Tri-Cities, Washington. We've been here.
Don't forget those boys in Madison, Indiana.
Yeah. Now we've got Detroit, which you'll be going to, I believe. What's the weekend for Detroit?
Pardon me?
The date.
I don't have them in front of me, but it is the weekend before Memorial, or Labor Day. Weekend before Labor Day, we will be on the Detroit River for the oldest active motorsports trophy. I love saying that, the American Powerboat Association Challenge Cup, a.k.a. the Gold Cup.
It is so much fun. So if you're here visiting from out of state, possibly from the Detroit area, make sure that you go onto the 81 app. It can be on your Apple phone, and look at our schedule, and you can follow. There's race codes, there's schedules, there's times, there's points, there's everything you need to know about H1 is on the H1 app.
It is, and the folks at H1, and specifically Walt Otenad, has worked so hard on that H1 app. We'll make it just very clear that if you are an H1 Unlimited hydroplane fan, you need to have the H1 app.
Or be right here in the pit.
You can see the onboard videos there. You can see the veritable treasure trove of video that is available there. It's amazing. And so right now, I think we've got the course closed for a moment. They need to clear Cal Phipps from the race course. He was dead in the water up at the north end of the course. They will make sure he is in a safe position before they can release another boat on the course. Looking down on pit row K, I see the U11 is in the water. That would be the Reliable Diamond Tool. Presents Miss J&D. It's the J&D Hydraulic Company down in Auburn.
The boat shop's located in Edmonds, Washington, with Scott and Shannon Rainey. Driver is Tom Thompson out of Cambridge, Maryland. Tom Thompson, he's another one of these drivers that goes from one boat to another boat to another boat. He also drives what's called a Jersey skiff. Have you ever seen those?
I have had a ride in a Jersey speed skiff, and it's awesome.
How did you get that ride?
I worked an event back in Wheeling, West Virginia, and just happened to make a comment on the pipes that this lucky young lady who does traffic in the morning on the radio station, I interviewed her, and she said, well, I'm sure you've done it many times. I said, actually, I never have. I've never been out in one of these boats. And I got done with the interview, and I was tapped on the shoulder by Bill DeGlopper. And Bill said, "You've never been out in a Jersey speed skiff?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Sign this waiver and let's go."
That sounds like fun. Maybe we should bring those out here. I don't think they can bring down here.
Fun, of course.
Well, we'll have to talk to Tom to see if we can start bringing those out here, because it's always fun at Seafair. There's so many different styles of boats that we're going to be seeing throughout the day. And, might as well just add more. We're going to bring out the milk tub. We can do that, too.
I think we got some more buckets on our bucket list to work on. It is the 2018 Albert Lee Appliance Cup at Seafair. And we are morning of day 2 of 3. And let's take a look at our schedule, Kay. On my watch, we're looking at about 10:30 here. And looking at the schedule coming up at 11 o'clock in Genesee Park behind the pit area here on the main stage, we are going to have, where to go, Nolan Garrett. He will be performing back there. I don't know Nolan Garrett, but there was a band on here yesterday. It's going to play again today, the Navy Band Northwest, their funk band. I actually walked by and saw them a little bit yesterday. They were awesome.
Were you up there dancing?
No, I was not up there dancing. That's why people were still enjoying their show. But it was very good. So Nolan Garrett will be on the main stage at 11 a.m. this morning. And then at 11:05, so coming up in about a half an hour, we are going to have Heat 2 of our Grand Prix World Hydroplanes. You won't want to miss that. It comes up at 11:05. And then we have our vintage boat exhibition that is going to come up at 11:25. They have been testing the Rolls-Royce Merlin and Allison engines in the pit area in the background. You may have heard it. So still lots to come before even we get to 12 o'clock, Kay. This is what Seafair is all about. The people at Seafair do a terrific job of making sure the action is nonstop.
Yes, and I want to thank all of our volunteers. The volunteers is what makes this weekend happen, too. You have volunteers in the pit, outside the pits, out at parking, and it's great. And all of our vendors that are out there in Desert Park. I love walking through there and seeing all the vendors. And, of course, like you were talking earlier about all the food, I got to go get my elephant ear by the end of the day.
Absolutely. Race fans, do not miss out on the annual Seafair Weekend Drivers Autograph Session, which will occur today in Genesee Park. This is your opportunity to get the autographs of all the drivers. You'll find all the Formula One Powerboat Tour drivers in Genesee Park. That will be starting at noon today. And the Unlimited and Grand Prix Hydro drivers, their autograph session will occur at the same time. They will be in the same place. It is adjacent to the Albert Lee Pavilion, right across the street, right behind the pit area. It takes place at straight up noon today. We are going to have the West Coast F1 tunnel boat drivers will be there. Our J-Stock Hydro drivers will be there for the autograph session. These kids, they are so excited to be here at Seafair. Go request one of their autographs. And I'm telling you something. I was thinking about it this morning coming down here. Of those 7 kids that ran yesterday, how many future Gold Cup winners were out there? Because it could very well happen, J. Michael Kelly.
It could happen with Carson Kelly. We were talking
Absolutely.
earlier, the fourth-generation driver. But when it comes to J-Stock hydroplane driving, these guys all start, a lot of them are just generation drivers, but we have a program with Seattle Outboard Association that happens on August 17th at Silver Lake Eatonville. It's called New Folks in Boats. So if you're walking around the place and you're looking down at maybe your neighbor or your son, your daughter, and you want to get your son or daughter into one of these boats, just like these J-Stocks, it's called New Folks in Boats. They have a podium out, or they have a vendor section out on Genesee Park, and you can grab a pamphlet. $75 will put your kid into one of these miniature hydroplanes and put them out on the water. We put them out on a much smoother water, and we give them the whole course to themselves. So it's Seattle Outboard Association, New Folks in Boats.
It's terrific. And so don't forget the autograph session. Once again, it starts at noon, straight up 12 o'clock in the pavilion right next door to the Albert Lee appliance stand in Genesee Park. Seafair would also like to say thank you to Safeway and Albertsons, sponsors of the Safeway and Albertsons Picnic Zones, the official supermarkets of Seafair. It is Safeway and Albertsons. Our course has been reopened, so we will look for the arrival of Tom Thompson on the race course here. Kay mentioned it a few minutes ago, but hydro fans, if you would like to get into the hydro pits, is that something you would like to do? Well, you can do it. Purchase a pit pass at the Pit Pass booth at the entrance of the pits on Lake Washington Boulevard and have your opportunity to get up close and personal to the hydros, the drivers, the crews, and the sponsors. Pit Pass sales right outside the main entrance to the pit area. We talked about the H1 app, but hey, Seafair fans, also you will want to download the Seafair app, and doing so will give you access to the event schedule, map, the latest traffic and weather, Seafair weekend news, and even live radio play-by-play. Be in the know with the Seafair app, courtesy of Albert Lee Appliance. And speaking of Albert Lee Appliance, Seafair would like to give a big shout out to Albert Lee. And the Whirlpool brand is dedicated to helping families thrive. They believe the simple acts of care they give day in and day out have the power to change the world. Albert Lee Appliance and the Whirlpool brand, thank you from Seafair. Our course is back open, and as we mentioned, we were awaiting the arrival of Tom Thompson in the U11. He is at the top end of the race course. Tom qualified yesterday. He qualified yesterday at a speed of 148.071. He was our third fastest qualifier. And that was a very good time. They were sniffing 150, and I thought for a while they might just get there. Their third lap tailed off just a little bit, but they went from 147 up to 148. They were sniffing that magic 150 mark.
Yes, but yesterday afterwards they were
yes, sir. What do we got?
Making a bunch of changes. So they maybe qualified at 148, but maybe they have some more tracks in the bag that they're going to bring out later today. Right now he's doing just a timing ride up and down the course. Course is wide open for him. He's got the whole course to himself, so he's going to take advantage of
and it's probably okay if I forget to tell everybody that you have an assigned lane.
Yeah,
then you're out there fighting for it. Like that. Look at Huff. He got in there again.
Yeah, no, he's an excellent import.
He damn is good at that, isn't he?
Yeah.
You're finally going to communicate this with us and let us know how to.
All of the schedules we have for
No, just a minute. I don't know if I'm hot.